Hey, check 1, 2. Let me pause this mighty fine Muscadine Bloodline record I'm over here getting warmed up to over here today. All right, that's recording. Let me make sure this is recording. You'd think after a couple of 100 episodes I'd have this down pat, but I am not, contrary to popular belief, a high-tech redneck. I am faking it and hopefully making it. Welcome back, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're coming from listening to this podcast. Thank you for tuning in to this week's installment of the JR the Handler Show. I hope you've enjoyed the past few weeks' episodes. I've had some great guests, and it's been a lot of fun catching up with some friends from the road that I haven't gotten to in a while. I want to say I appreciate everybody for chiming in on the 424 Handler line, leaving great voicemails and questions and comments, and at JR the Handler on Instagram and Twitter. Been interacting with a lot of you guys and gals. Thanks for the positive feedback and any criticism. I appreciate it, and thanks for the suggestions. A lot of cool stuff going to come out of all that. And I'm glad everybody's enjoyed the show so far. Climbing up in those numbers in the music podcast ratings over there at Apple. I'd love to get back up in the top of that. So if you would share this, like, rate, subscribe, all that good stuff as much as possible. I'll do another. I hate beating you guys up with ads, but I'll have to just slip it in when I can because I have to, because it's how we keep the show going. So thanks to everybody so far. I hope you're ready for a great episode this week. Of course, he's on time and ready to go, and I'm dragging a little bit. But so I'm not going to waste any more time. Coming to the show today is another friend of mine. Imagine this. He's from Alabama, and he kicks butt at behind-the-scenes things in the country music touring world. Surprise, surprise. This guy's got a great story. He's younger than I am. We've been friends for several years now. I knew since day one he was going to be a rock star in this business, and he's proven me right every chance he gets. I'll let him tell his origin story here in a few minutes, but welcome from my home state of Alabama, now residing in Music City, USA, Chase Butler. What's going on, brother Chase?
What's up, my man? How are you?
I'm doing good, buddy. Man, thank you for coming on today. I know you've told your story on a podcast before. You've done a few of these. I know I heard you on the Boots and Whiskey podcast a couple of months ago with Brother Jim over there, chopping it up. But I wanted to get back on that since we've been friends for a while. And, you know, I've been doing this podcast now for a couple of weeks, having people on to basically shed some light on how you get to do some of these cool jobs and just jobs in general in the music business that most people like you and I didn't know existed when we were growing up in rural Alabama. So thought it'd be great to have you on. I've got a couple of other, I'm only doing one of these a week. I wish I could do this like Joe Rogan and do it every day because, there's so many of us that we'd love to do it, and everybody, I'd love to.
Done a lot for that.
Yeah, I know. It's going to be, so doing one a week, I mean, I'd love to get to where I could do multiple because there's so many I want to get out, so.
For sure.
But that brings us back to why I brought you on today. You're doing all kinds of cool stuff for coming from South Alabama to now on tour with two artists from Alabama having the biggest song of the decade so far, and just that whole deal. So I'll let you tell everybody as much or as little as you want to.
Man, well, I'm tickled to death that you had me on here. I listened to Jeff Gossett's episode, and the fact that you're throwing me in here with with Brother Jeff is amazing. He's incredible, got an incredible story as well. Was fortunate enough to tour with him for a little while, and he just solid gold, man. Solid gold. So.
Yep.
But yeah, man, I appreciate you having me. Like you said, I'm from Alabama, little town 20 miles north of Mobile called Satsuma. Not a whole lot going on in Satsuma, Alabama, brother.
Great name, though. Great fruit,
yeah.
Also. A great fruit.
Great fruit. Yes, sir. But yeah, I grew up there, lived a simple life, as simple as you could get. Went to high school at Satsuma High School.
Did you have family members that played music?
None. Nobody in my family. I've got a couple of cousins, distant cousins up in Montgomery, Union Springs area. They'll pick around, but no musical influence at all other than a radio kid.
Did you love the radio?
That was it. That
Yeah,
was it.
same.
My grandmother used to have, I would go stay with her. She had a little FM uh, radio alarm clock in her room. And every morning at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, whatever it was, 95 KSJ came on. So no
Love it.
matter where they were in the broadcast, it would just hit.
Yep.
And either Dan and Shelby would be talking, or you'd hear Tim McGraw or Tracy Lawrence or somebody on the tune. So,
That is so funny. My grandmother in Mississippi had the same alarm clock, and I slept
oh
in the
yeah,
bed with them between her and my granddad till I was, I don't know, 30.
yeah,
And every morning that alarm would go off. My grandmother would actually get up like 30 seconds before the alarm would go off and start moving. But then the alarm would go off, and it was Miss 103, 103.3 in Jackson, Mississippi country. It was a little earlier than you, so it was Randy Travis in
yeah.
Alabama, and that kind of T.G. Shepherd, that kind of stuff. In the early 80s, but every morning when I stayed with them, and I couldn't wait. It was great. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's small
Turn it on,
world.
started the day right.
Yeah.
A little bit of country music start the day.
So
So
you just always loved music.
yeah, man. I don't know what. I mean, riding around. I grew up playing t-ball and coach
Yeah.
pitch and all that kind of stuff, and just I would ride in the back of the truck, my dad's truck, and he'd have the radio on, and I could hear it through the sliding glass door in the back. And I don't know, was just always listening to the radio. Always
Same.
just grew up like
Yeah.
that, man. Yeah.
And CDs, I bet you had a stack of CDs.
Yeah, my mom and dad had some cassettes that, which range from everything from Randy Travis to Justin Timberlake or before Justin Timberlake, NSYNC, Backstreet
Right.
Boys, Christina Aguilera, the whole thing.
Oh
So
yeah.
I kind of got, a good mixture of all of it.
Yep. That's me.
You
I'm
know,
the same boat, riding around with my mom. I mean, we had anything from George Strait to Boys to Men to, Mariah Carey, whatever, and I liked it all. I was the same way. That's funny to do that. So then getting into high school, no, you're not playing in a band. You're not running around with a band or anything. You're playing ball. You're a good student, I'm sure.
uh, far from it, brother. Grades weren't always great, but I found the hack that if you did all these extracurricular activities, clubs and all this kind of stuff,
Yep.
you didn't really have to go to class a whole lot. So
Yep.
I barely passed high school, just because I was so busy. I ended up being junior and senior class president, uh, president of Future Business Leaders of America Club. I was on some kind of superintendent student advisory council, which pulled me out of class for majority of the day on those meetings.
Gotta hate that.
Um, yeah, so I mean, and I did the sports too. I did,
Oh yeah.
baseball, football, soccer. Um, Realized pretty quick I wasn't going far with any of those,
Right.
so I
Yeah.
had to find something else to do. But yeah, dude, towards the end of my senior year, I really started. I didn't know where I wanted to go. I knew that I wanted to do something with music or politics. That was the other thing. I was between Southern Miss, Troy, uh, Alabama, or just moved to Nashville and figured it out. Um, so I applied to all, got into all, um, and then I ended up just going to a community college, Faulkner State, right there in Bay Minette, or it
Yep.
used to be Faulkner State's Coastal, I believe now, but
Mm-hmm.
went there right out of high school, just trying to figure it out. I still had no idea. I mean, I was junior, senior year of high school. I was paging for the House of Representatives in Montgomery. So me and a couple buddies would go up and, um, work on the House floor in the House of Representatives, which was awesome. I really enjoyed my time doing that. Uh, thank God I didn't go into politics, especially
Yeah.
now.
Right. Hey, I don't mean to cut you to
No, you're
break
good.
you off there, but I do that a lot. I can't help it because I see something there that I just think is unique. Though
Yeah,
there's you got to think about this too. If you must have always had like a little bit of an explorer in you, because I feel like going to the government buildings like that. It's kind of like when we go to these different buildings we play at. Do you get a kick out of like being in the bowels of these big venues and going in these
Love it.
places? I do too. I always want, and it's
Love it.
kind of cool because we're not there like on a general thing with everybody else. You're like behind the wall,
Oh
I
yeah.
always got a kid, and even as a kid, I could remember doing that, wanting to go to the gym when it was closed, or go to this part of the church when it was shut down, or, just exploring stuff. And I feel like I've always wanted to do that, and that's kind of like you going in doing that gig with the government stuff. You're like, well, I get to go in the rooms, I get to go in the door there that nobody gets to go in.
Right. Yeah, that's always been fascinating. Even I remember when the wharf got built down in Orange Beach, I'd go to a show. I was there every night they had a show. It didn't matter who was playing. And I'd be there for the show and I'd be singing along, but my eyes were backstage. My eyes were, well, what is this building over here? What is it? Is that a green room? Is that where they eat catering? What's happening over here? So
Yep.
always looking in the wings. I don't know.
I'm just thinking I'm just thinking for in the long scope of this podcast, and just in general the rest of my career, I'm trying to look at things like that. What makes us all so unique and so different, but able to do and multitask and have these skills that don't necessarily people don't think they translate to outside of our world, but the people and talent that works on these tours is just sick, man. If they unleash, it's fascinating. These people,
Yeah.
like, I know people on the crew that can do so many things that they could do 12 people's jobs. Just how good they are. But I'm
Sometimes
hoping
you have to.
you have to, because there's no like get most of it done. It's all got to get done every day, 100 times a year. And it's but I think in the long scope, I'm trying to put figure that out too. These unique characteristics that make us all different and good at our jobs at the same time. But anyway.
Yeah, man. Um,
You get accepted to all the universities. Are you thinking about going to one school other than the other for different reasons after Faulkner?
I really started honing in on music after that. Once I went to Faulkner, I was interning at Bayfest Music Festival. It's no longer around, but at one time it was the biggest music festival in Alabama.
Right.
And it happened downtown Mobile, 3-day multi-genre festival. So I was interning with them my senior year of high school. My going into the community college there, which was great. I love that, but it's only one weekend a year.
Yeah.
It's like you do all this work all year, and then it finally pays off that weekend. You're so darn exhausted that you can't really enjoy what's happening. But,
right.
I did that. I loved it. Interned at the radio station, 95 KSJ, on-air personality, and, doing some behind-the-scenes stuff there too. Realized pretty quick I didn't want to be in a cubicle all day.
Right.
So yeah, I finally just,
who was there? Who was that? Bill Black there at the time?
Bill Black, Steve Powers.
Steve Powers. Oh, wow. I love it.
Jennifer, I guess she's now Parnell.
Yes, absolutely.
Was, whatever her maiden name, Surface Ivy, I think, or something like that. She was in marketing or sales there. Danny Shelby were on the morning show. So.
What a small world. I love it. Yeah, I just was talking with Jennifer and Brandon a couple days ago. They just got pictures with little Bennett at the beach for Easter. They were so cute. We do dinner with them every couple of weeks and stuff. That is so funny. I can't wait to talk to ask her about that when I see us. Was Chase goofing off at his job at KSJ?
Always.
Was he just there to collect a check, or was he actually getting stuff done?
I never collected a check. I promise you that. That was all. They called me the fake intern.
Right.
Just because I wasn't getting any kind of college credit or anything,
right.
But they also couldn't.
You were
pay
just
me
learning.
Anything, so
I was there to learn.
Yeah. So I was briefly on the morning show with KSJ. Also did a top 40 station there. But I don't know anything about Rihanna and Chris Brown and all them. So that didn't work out too great. But yeah, so I was just pretty much a sponge, and I don't know if you remember a guy named Colton Bradford.
Name sounds familiar.
Graduated a year before me, I believe, at Satsuma. So he was like the man at KSJ during that time. So he just kind of opened the doors. Whatever he did, I looked at his schedule, his senior year. I was like, well, whatever I got to do to make that happen, I'm just going to follow him. He's now up in Boston, and he's working, I believe, on an NBC TV station up there, but he was at the Bull in Boston for a little while too. But
nice.
Yeah, so once I got to the community college, man, I was happy. I was still living at home, not having to pay rent, not having to, do adult things. And
Didn't know how good you had it.
golly, man, especially when you move to Nashville.
Yeah.
Um, going to shows with the Wharf all the time, just doing whatever I could. And finally I was just to a point I was like, man, I gotta get out of here. I gotta go to Nashville. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I don't know anybody. Um, so yeah, I sat my parents down. I was like, all right, I think it's time. So um, a few months later, we packed up the truck and went to Nashville.
And at this point, you didn't have any buddies in town that moved to town, didn't have any contacts.
Nobody. They stuck me. I was going to MTSU. That was my excuse to go up there for
Okay.
music business, and toured the campus one weekend. Came back down, moved my stuff up. Maybe 3 weeks later, um, I was in an apartment building with three other guys that I've never met before,
In
all very
Murfreesboro?
unique backgrounds. Oh yeah, yeah. It was kind of you don't pay rent, you pay rent for the room that you're in. So it was like $500 a month, but you got three other roommates that they're just sticking you in a house with, and you got to
Oh, wow.
figure it out.
Yeah,
So
wow. And so you shared
yeah,
common space in the kitchen
oh
or
yeah,
living room and all that? Oh,
yeah.
wow.
And it was, how secluded we are in South Alabama.
Yeah.
I mean, going to the beach and going to Montgomery and going to Biloxi was about the extent of my travel
Yeah,
situation
and
at that
maybe
point.
to Atlanta, but that would might as well have been going to New York
Maybe.
City if you ever went to a
Right.
Braves game or something. I mean, that was
Right.
just big city, buddy.
So I was stuck in a place with three guys that I had nothing in common with. We couldn't be any further apart. I say this just to show how diverse it was.
Yeah.
We had a drug dealer from Antioch.
Wow.
We had uh, a guy from Saudi Arabia and a guy from Chicago. It was just like nobody was on the same path. Nobody was doing
Wow.
anything. I mean, one was like an engineer, one was selling drugs, and
Right.
I still
Wow.
don't know what the other
Yeah.
one was doing. But yeah,
Wow.
so a lot of that time, I was lonely is not even the word.
Yeah.
You know, I was dating a girl in Tuscaloosa, so it was like every week, every time I got out of class, I was going back and forth to
Right.
Tuscaloosa just to have some kind of familiar faces and
Yep.
that kind of thing. And I was actually visiting back home one weekend, and I was working in Nashville. I got a job at the Grand Ole Opry selling hot dogs, working the concession stand. And I went back home one weekend, and Hannah McFarland called me. She said, "Hey," she's like, "there's this guy at Florida Bama right now. You got to come check him out." She knew how much I love music. She wasn't really on the music path at that point, but she knew my love for music. So she called me, and I met up with her down there. Ended up seeing Justin Johnson and Tyler Braden. They were playing around together at the Florida
Love it.
Bama. So that I got Tyler's information, and that part's a little foggy after all the bushwhackers we had,
Yes,
but
as it should be.
yeah, so it was probably 3 or 4 months later. Tyler called me out of the blue one day and said, "Hey man, I'm moving to town. I got a house. I need another roommate. You in?" And I was coming up on my lease ending in
You were like
Murfreesboro,
perfect.
rolled right into that house.
You were like perfect. It was like, oh
Yep,
yes, a
yep,
music guy. And for the record, we're talking about Tyler Braden, who is a fantastic vocalist, artist from Mobile, Alabama.
slap out
Slap
Montgomery.
Out. Oh yeah, that's
Yep,
right. He's from Slap Out. But wasn't he a
yep.
fire? Didn't he fight? Wasn't he on the fire department in Mobile or something? I thought, or was
He
that
was
in
a fire
Montgomery?
department in Montgomery. He was
Okay.
there for 5 years, I think,
Yeah,
something
well,
like
we were
that.
a lot closer than. See, that's why I quit drinking, so I can get my story straight, and when I talk to people, I could be more clear in these interactions. All right, well, but
Dude, I tell
Tyler's
you,
out there rocking and rolling. He has got great stuff,
yes, sir.
and just yeah, what a treat to run into somebody like that. And then on the other side, the other guy that you didn't get the number, but I'm sure you know now, is Justin Jinson, who is a great outlaw country Americana artist who is
Yes,
doing
sir.
fantastic things, has great videos, great songs, a great story. He's a vet. He's working with our buddy Josh Newcomb over at Warpaint now. Just all good people over there. And Justin's got a bunch of slots opening for the Red Clay Strays. I know they're doing
Red
a thing
Rocks,
now.
I believe.
Tour to Red Rocks. Yeah, they're leading
Yeah.
up to do out there opening for him at Red Rock, for them at Red Rock, which is another band that same thing. I'm running sound for them during the pandemic at the Floor Bama, and Paul, who's a fraternity brother of mine from Troy, is like, dude, Red Clay Strays are, if anybody was going to make it, this is a band that's that good. And I was like, I can't wait to check them out. And yeah, they killed it. And then, I mean, it was just rocket ship a year or so after that, you know, for them. And so full circle, and I did a thing on an intro episode to this podcast before we put the Gossett episode out, where I went through the ACM nominations for the awards coming up. And Alabama is well represented, buddy.
Very much so. For a long time, it was Georgia, but I think the pendulum has swung, and we are full-blown Alabama right now.
Yes, and I couldn't be more happy because, yes, it was – and no knock on the Georgia guys and gals. They were all great, and they're all the homies.
Just our time.
Yes, but good gracious, we had Jamie waving the flag by himself, and trying to get up down the river by himself for so long. It seemed like anyway, you know, with obviously legends like Alabama and some of those still rocking and rolling, but then on the way up, you had so many great ones that and you'll hear, and everybody already knows they're going. We should do a drinking game on this. Every time I mention Adam Hood, you have to do a drink because
let's get started.
Yeah, right. Because I'm going to mention Adam Hood a lot because he's just that good. But like people, like all those guys, you know, never really should have gotten their shine early on because they were good enough then, and just didn't to that level. But like the music chart, you know, the music industry went with the Georgia style for a long time. It seemed like it was just heavily dominated. And then now swinging back over to Alabama, led mostly by Riley and Ella, two other ones that I saw play at the Floribama. So talent scouts, you know, I'm going to turn you away at the door. That's our breeding ground down there.
That's right.
But it's churned out a lot.
It has. Drake White.
Yes.
Jesse Murph. She's from the Huntsville area, I believe. Adam Hood, all of them, man. It's just it's so cool to see. You go
Muscadine,
like we were talking Red Clay.
Yeah. Strays, Bloodline, Justin, Drake, and then down here there's so many good ones that are just right on the cusp. You know, the Ellas and the Joy Beths and the Job Fortners, and I mean there's just a ton of them down here. It's good stuff.
Yeah.
So you meet Tyler, and everybody go look up Tyler Braden. There's, if you want some I know everybody's been asking about music and video recommendation. There's one. Go listen to some of Tyler's stuff and tell me that boy can't sing. But so you moving in with Tyler from the rando 4 roommate situation to now Nashville. Where are y'all living at now?
We're living off of Hillsborough Road.
So you're a lot closer to the action now.
Yeah, so we're in Franklin. We're closer to town. My wife and I live in Franklin now, so I pass by that house all the time. I'm just like, man, the stories. If those walls could talk.
I love it.
But yeah, lived in that with 4 other guys. Once again, just to pay the rent. I mean, we were, you know, poor doesn't even describe it, brother. I mean, it was we were scrapping together $1,500 to pay the rent. So
right.
But yeah, so we lived in that house for a while. Job Fortner moved in there.
Did he?
He did.
See, I didn't even know that.
Johnson lived in there for a while. I mean, we had a house.
Man.
House full of talent for sure.
I love it. That kind of reminds me of like in my era when I came up with Wayne Mills, same thing. I'd be somewhere. I'd be over at we'd be at Tony Brooks' house, and I'd look across, and there's Adam Hood, there's Chris Posey, there's Joe Wright. You know, there's Will Dooley, there's Rex Oggs. I'm just like, and then there's Hal Bruni. Then there's the players. There's David Gulliver, the drummer. There's Jason Parker, the bass. There's this guitar player. There's this bass player. There's this mandolin player. This fiddle player, and it's just like. And Tony Brooks playing a dobro, and everybody's listening to a John Hyatt record, and it's like, is this real?
It don't get better than that, though.
I didn't know it, and I knew it was awesome being there, but again, I was hammered most of the time, and and I was young and didn't know that it wouldn't last forever. Yeah. And then thinking back, I'm like, man, that was some. If you could bottle that up, Oh my God. If I'd have knew what I knew now, I'd have been like, everybody put them cigarettes out. We're going to start writing songs. We're going to go cut some
Yeah.
records. We're going to do, but
We'll be
obviously
sober when we do this. Yeah.
yeah. And you let me know the knowledge I have now to help everybody. But we were all just trying to,
Golly,
like, we
no
were just
joke.
all trying to stay afloat. And that's it. Nobody really helps you until you get some help. And then you got to worry, is the help coming from the right place or not? Because I couldn't tell you how many,
Reliable, right.
yeah, I couldn't tell you how many times with Wayne, we got a new manager and all they did was want to party and throw some money at the situation. Then they'd leave and we'd owe a bunch of money, and they left a bad, did something untoward
Oh, yeah.
to somebody in town, and we got a bad, and then we had to make up for that and put that fire out. But nobody helps you, on your way up. You're just trying to swim. You're just trying to stay above water, and that's what we were all doing, And I remember same thing with party, I mean, just there's no money, like it's no money. We don't have. There's 5 of us in a hotel room, and we can't even afford that one room.
Yeah. I was slinging hot dogs trying to do my part. I promise you.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's it. I mean, I did so many little side jobs. I'm lucky enough to say that my main job my entire adult life has been music. But at first, same thing. Even with Wayne, I didn't make any money, and then I get $40, and then you got on a little bit more, and then it was, everybody gets equal cut, and then and then you first start getting a day rate in Nashville, then you get on a salary hopefully or something, But it's just a process there, and sometimes it's just lean, when you're doing different stuff. I was security. I did CSC security in Nashville. I was the yellow shirt guy at the events. Oh yeah, I did that, which was awesome because I got to.
You were close to it.
Yeah, and I wanted, and I knew I was already a tour manager. I'd already worked for Wayne, Southern Hauler. This was probably right about John, before I met John around. So I knew I was going to be I might as well learn security. I'm not going to go learn production overnight. I don't have any background. I'm not going to know all that stuff that a production manager would know, but I can learn security. I'm going to need to learn hospitality. I'm going to need to learn travel stuff, logistics, the things that I can learn that I think I could grasp. So I went and did that job, and some nights, it's a hockey game or a football game or whatever, but also I did barricade security for Green Day, AC/DC, Black Ice tour in 06. I mean, I'm standing in Malcolm and Angus are right behind me, and I mean it's AC freaking DC, dude. I mean that was still that was the best, most powerful production show I've ever seen or been to or been around. I mean, I actually lost my gig after that because I basically just turned around and watched the show the whole time. I was like, I'm sorry, it's but
and now as a TM, we understand that, right?
Exactly.
You start pulling those security
we're gonna
guys
put
off
you.
front.
Yeah, we're gonna
put your phones down.
Yeah, we're gonna put you somewhere else. Yeah, we're gonna move you over here and get somebody competent over here. But it kept me in the thing, learning some other aspect, and so I got to be privy on some big security meetings with the TM, in the afternoons with all these big bands and different things. So that was cool. And then construction, remodeling, and basically anything. If somebody needed something, they called me. I probably could go do it. Drive somebody, pick them up. Uber before there was Uber, $20.
Same.
Rent my truck out, rent my van out, whatever.
Whatever you got to do it. Yeah. I did construction for a while. I did, I cut trees with a tree guy out in Hermitage till.
Oh yeah. Yard work's always there. Yeah. You can always go cut some grass. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do some pressure washing, some painting.
That's it.
There's always some gigs like that. Nobody wants to do those gigs, but even now I still do some of that,
Oh yeah.
And because, dude, you can make some good cash. You can make good bread. That's how you go from making a couple of $100 a day instead of $20 an hour or whatever,
Right.
A couple of hours, go do some hard labor. That's how you make some bread.
And it was so hard too, JR, because I mean, I lived in a house with these guys and they were just starting out. Nobody had a pub deal. Nobody had managers or any of that stuff. So we got tours. That was not a problem. The problem was paying your folks that were on the tour with you. I mean, and that's just the slot that you were in,
Yeah.
I mean, I was with Job, man, and we were out with the Steelwoods. We were out with, Cody Johnson, just when he was just getting out of Texas, starting to do the Southeast. We had a lot of awesome opportunities. Whiskey Myers. We were doing it, but when you get paid, let's say $500 a night, if you're lucky.
Yeah.
And you're traveling all the way across the country to do all this. And you got, me who was TM, driving the van, photo, video, selling merch, whatever else, and then you got three other band guys plus the artist. At the end of that month, you're I still might have made maybe $125. You
Yeah,
know,
on the
it's
whole
like,
run.
and
Yeah.
I've been out, but I wouldn't trade it for anything in
No.
the world. I mean, that's where you get the grit. That's what makes you hard.
Absolutely. I feel the same way. I don't regret any of the lean years and the tough stuff because it makes you appreciate it when you start rocking. And
Absolutely.
it gives you that it gives you those stripes, that been there,
Yep.
done that. I can deal with another type of situation I can deal with. I'm equipped to deal with this because I've done it, and it's not above me or beneath me. I've been there, done that, got the T-shirt kind of deal. Yeah.
Right.
So, and you're like you said though, and it's hard to capitalize on things when you don't have the infrastructure in place to capitalize on these. You can take the stuff, but if you don't have a management team that's actively trying to use these things to further your career, and a publicist that's using this as angles to get you more opportunities as far
For
as
sure.
being in the public eye, or sponsorships or whatever you're trying to accomplish, it's great, but you're not going to make any money, and you're not going. There's no residuals going to come out of it. At least that's the deal. A lot of it, and it's cliche and it's way overused. Is the whole you play here for exposure, like a bar used to try to do. Is
Right.
it'd be good exposure if y'all to
You're
play
lucky
here.
to play here.
Yeah, you're
Right.
lucky to play here. No, how about pay us a proper wage to entertain your crowd tonight? Is what's going to happen.
Or at least give me a meal.
Yes, yeah, and a case of liquor. And by the end of it, usually I'll have you liquored up and partied enough, and you'll enjoy the band enough, and we're going to get a lot more than you thought you were going to get
That's
us.
right. That's right.
I know that trick. I've been there, done that. But if you don't have, if you don't have all that in place to move forward and capitalize on it, you don't get the residuals on the back end. So
Right.
you just end up losing the money. And if the place where the exposure thing does come into play is if you've got management, a label, a backer, somebody who also sees the vision, that will share some of that responsibility and burden of financial responsibility to make it to where it's good enough to get there. I mean, that's the thing when, and I'm going to have different people on the podcast over the next first dozen or so episodes. Obviously, I'm going to get all of my close friends on that I know I want to tell their stories. But I'm going to also have a song plugger, a publisher, because I want to explain to people how. Because people hit me up all the time. I got this material, I got this song. Can you get it to
What
somebody?
I do with it. Right.
Yeah, and I have no idea. I mean, I've heard a little, but it'd be pointless to send it to me. I don't have anything with anybody on that, but I want to bring somebody on like a Blaine Rhodes or somebody that can come
Sure.
on and explain all that. But what a label will do is come on and cover those costs. And I'm going to have a label person on and a management person to explain this from their perspective. So if I screw it up, we'll get to the core on it. But they put up the bread because they know they see the long-term payoff. And now that money's recoupable, but you can't just go to the bank and say, hey, I need to loan me $50,000 because I want to go be a country singer. I don't think it really works that way. And the label has the connections with the infrastructure, with their teams, of the publicity teams and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
So, but if you don't have that up front to take that financial burden so you can go out and do the shows and not kill yourself and show up looking like you got some rest and well fed and slept and all that, it's damn near impossible, really. It just really is, because but if someone shares that vision, it's all going to pay off in the long run, or it has at least has a real good chance to.
Right.
So running it that way, you get back home, you made $100, and you're just going to do it again.
No. And it's funny you say all that, because you don't see it until you sit here and start talking about it. But that's where I spent majority of my career. I mean, those acts right there, Joe, Hannah Dasher, Casey Tyndall, all these people didn't have anything going on at the time. They might have signed a booking deal, and that was how we were able to get a few shows here and there, opening up for some awesome folks, but that's the other part of it. If you don't have all the rest of the team in place, you're just playing country music, which is damn fine by me. I had no problem going out and listening to country music every night, but it could start getting monotonous and it'll wear on you. you know,
Yeah. Well, and
if you don't have
before,
all those team members in place.
right, and before the society got where it was and entertainment got where it was a lot easier just to go play shows, and that's how you got that's how you got noticed. You got wrote up in the paper after your show. You got, you know,
Right.
it was more grassroots. You could do it in a more grassroots level, but now it really, there's so many outlets that you have to be on to take full advantage of things. You have to know how to do all these things. It's not as simple as going and playing shows and cutting records and
Yeah.
doing a radio segment here and there. You know, I mean, it's full-time video, audio
All of it.
for all these artists all the time, you know, and,
Yeah.
and if you're trying to promote something or move something in a direction and you don't take advantage of, you know, social media or, you know, local radio or any facet of it, it'll hurt you.
Oh yeah.
You know, you
For
won't
sure.
be able to, you won't be able to reach your full potential for sure. So yeah, it's tough to do those until you've got the infrastructure. So what point there are y'all rocking along and y'all are still chopping wood and trying, and everybody's just grinding, everything's going good because you're meeting people, you're learning the business. And see, cause that's kind of like what we did with Wayne. We never had the infrastructure properly. We did so many cool shows with everybody. We played with everybody.
Right.
And just, you know, just couldn't ever get all that dialed in with the proper help and assistance, you know, for whatever reason. Going back to, I wish I knew what I knew now, then boy, he'd be a big old star. We'd have been rocking and rolling.
Have a hell of a team too.
Yeah, right. So, but until you do, so when along that path does things start? Do you see something change? What's the first thing that happened? Is it somebody gets a pub deal? Is it somebody gets a manager?
I mean, there for the longest time, JR, it was a lot of the same. It was you know, I toured with Casey, I toured with Job, I would tour with Tyler with whatever shows he was getting thrown his way.
Because is that where we first met on a gig? Was out with Tyler?
It had to be. I was trying to think when we first met, but it had to be with Tyler.
Had
Um,
to be.
you know, I was out with Casey. I was working for a social media marketing company, and I remember I got a call to go TM for Casey. She was opening up for Parmalee for 2 weeks out in the Midwest, and so I took the job. And while I was out with her, I got fired from the social media marketing company because that guy was wanting me to be in town and present and doing everything. I could do everything remote, but he was just, you know,
That's what
an
he wanted.
office,
Yeah.
yeah, office guy. So, and that's not what I've ever been, as an office guy.
You think it'd make more
Um,
sense if you're a social media person to be out and about and learning and
you would
doing.
think,
Yeah.
you would think. So I got the job with Casey, went out with Parmalee for 2 weeks, and we went through that winter. And then January of the next year, I got a call to go be assistant tour manager for Parmalee.
And
So
what
that
year
was the
was
first
this?
time. Oh, geez. 20 into 2017, first of 2018.
So this is your first official gig on a tour. Your assistant TMing for Parmalee.
Yeah. That was
Sweet.
like my big, like, all right, things are swinging in a different direction. First time on a bus.
Yeah.
I remember I showed up to bus call, had no idea what was going on. I don't know where you put your bags. I don't know where you put the waters. I don't know where I sleep, the whole
Yeah.
thing.
Oh yeah.
So I did that. I was assistant TM with them for about 8 months, and then they fired their tour manager and got a call to be the TM. So step in, TM for them. I was TM with them for probably another year. And then I was also working in the management office. They had a manager here in town who split time between North Carolina and Nashville. He also represented Lit, Marcy Playground, Casey Tyndall at the time, and Laney. So I was in the office with Mandolin, and Dave was the manager's name, and just working with those guys. I'd work, 30 hours, 35 hours during the week in the office, and then I'd go out on the road and work, 3 shows a weekend.
So you're getting the
Um,
best of both worlds. Then you're
best of
with
both worlds.
you're working with great managers, and he mentioned Mandolin. Mandolin is Laney Wilson's manager, and she is a stud and just a go getter, and she's great. I love
Absolutely.
working with Mando. She's awesome.
Yeah.
So you're getting that in town, and then going on the road and getting the road work in too. That's beautiful.
Right. Yeah. So I did that probably for about a year and a half. And that'll kill you too.
Oh yeah,
Burn at both ends. It
oh
didn't
yeah,
matter how young I was still
yeah.
not young enough for
Yeah,
that.
you go through
Yeah.
ebbs and flows, and you probably will. I have anyway in my career of like, there's times when I'm like, why, how am I so knee deep in all this? I ain't never going. This is too much. And then you'll go through
Right.
as well. I'm going to the gym every day, and I'm like, how do I have so little to do? And
Yeah.
then a couple, a year later, you're like, I'm back in the deep water again.
Yeah. So I finished up with Parmalee and I made a move to Laney. So I was with Laney. She was opening first to three acoustic for Hardy and Morgan Wallen and clubs. So they were doing 1,500, 2,500 cap rooms. And it was just her and I driving around in a van or her truck or whatever we could get our hands on, just
Love
to
it.
do that. So we did that tour together. And then I started the or end of the year, top of the year with you guys when she was opening,
Yes,
for y'all.
on the
So I was on the
2020.
first,
Yeah, the Tracy
yeah, so I was
Lawrence.
on the first two weekends. The first weekend was a disaster. I don't know if you remember that. We were out there. It was Laney and Tracy Lawrence and you.
Yeah.
And the first weekend was an absolute disaster just because of the weather. We were out
Oh yeah. Oh yes, I do.
out
Yes, I do.
west.
And backstory on that too is that was my first time taking the reins over as TM for Justin. That was my
Really?
first. The first Joey had just come off the road, and I'd been
Uh-huh.
doing most of it. Joey. We had a team thing there, but
Yeah.
so Joey stepped off the road, and I took over. That was my first weekend out as being the tour manager, and we're going to, of course, like they always send us in into February somewhere, North Dakota, Nebraska, Wyoming, somewhere out that way. And
Yeah.
yeah, we get there, and the first night I fell. I remember slipping and falling trying to get to the buses. That was iced over back there.
Hmm.
We try to leave. Tracy's bus is wrecking in the parking lot of the hotel. We all just have to
Yeah.
hunker down and end up canceling the next two nights.
Yeah. So we did that first show, and I remember we had to leave because we were in a van. Um, I think she had full band at that time. Yeah. And
She did acoustic, I know, on most of that tour. I don't know if
uh
it was that first weekend might have been full band, but I know after that it was acoustic because I've got a set list here actually. God, where'd I put that thing? You'd get a kick out of it. I've got a set list here somewhere from that era, and she was doing acoustic. And I also remember, like on that tour, she didn't have a very good acoustic to play on the road. She had a problem with her pickups, and I remember our guitar tech
yeah.
was trying to work on it for her, and he said it's just crap. And Mando said she didn't have anything back home that was roadworthy. So Justin went
Right.
out and bought her a Martin that day
How about that?
in some random town. Yeah, and he didn't. He doesn't even own a Martin still, but he went and bought her a Martin guitar and gave it to her that day so she'd have something to play on the road the rest of the tour and whatever.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I got a picture. I have to dig that up. But anyway, but that's not. But she could have been doing full band and then did some acoustic, some full band, just depending on what shows, because
Yeah,
that happens.
I can't remember what was going on there, but I do remember I asked y'all what time y'all were leaving. And I was like, well, we got to leave right after our set pretty much to even make it to where we're going. And we got on the road, we pulled out of the parking lot and the van started turning. And I think I drove 30 miles an hour, if that, to our next place. And we got to the next place and you called me the next morning. You said, hey, we're going to have to cancel the rest of the weekend. It's too bad. We can't make it. And we were like some podunk hotel in the middle of nowhere. I
Oh
pulled
my
over and
god.
paid cash for it.
Oh
Like
my
it was
god.
just it was something crazy. But
Yeah.
and then I remember right around that time is when Tyler signed his pub deal, management deal, signed his record deal. He had a tour starting with Granger Smith, and that's my boy. That's somebody
Yeah.
that we lived together um, for 4 or 5 years, and that was always the goal, right? You
Yep.
want to be with your boy and go out and do the thing. So I remember my buddy Tyler Rhodes came out and TM'd the rest of that tour with Laney, with you
Yep.
guys, I believe.
Yep.
And
Well, we didn't do many shows. We only ended up doing about 8 shows, and then COVID happened,
right,
and
yeah,
we were in Louisiana, and they were like, "No, we were supposed to play Billy Bob's the next night." And I called over there, and they were like, "Yeah, this is Texas. We gonna play." And then I had already rented a car because I knew it would probably work good.
right.
I'd already been listening to Joe Rogan. I knew they were about to shut everything down,
That's
make a
right.
big deal about nothing, and then I get a call about an hour later. Well, governor says we can't do no shows. I was like, that's what I thought. I was like, all right. So I grabbed like a bottle of vodka, and a bottle of like hand sanitizer off the bus, and like some Pringles or something. And I got in a
Throw it
rental
in the
car, and
trunk.
I drove from like Bossier City Horseshoe back to Gulf Shores, and was
Yeah,
like, well, I don't know what's gonna happen, but we ain't
yeah,
gonna like we going to do no shows no time soon. So we didn't do many other shows on that tour because of COVID, and and then by the time we get back, I knew then though, because Things a Man Ought to Know was one of those undeniable songs. I was like, if
oh
they
yeah,
don't let her have a big song with this, it's going to be a travesty to all country music going forward. And
for
luckily
sure.
they did, and I knew it then, and I told her and Mando that back then. We knew it. That's why. I'll say this about Moore. I mean, 90% of anybody that's ever went out and opened for us at any point is rocking.
Oh yeah,
He always says that's why I pick. That's why I don't just take whoever. We try to make sure we pick
hand
somebody
pick.
we actually
Yep,
like, and we think will work, and it fits in what we're trying to get accomplished as a package show, and
for sure.
you know. So anyway, but yeah, after that song got to be, and then by the end of pandemic, buddy, she was
She's the
rocking.
biggest thing in the world now.
Yeah, huge.
So, but yeah, I
So, but
jumped.
that went. So then you get the call back. Tyler signing his pub deal. You got your
Mhm.
buddy to cover the Laney gig. You're going to go out with Tyler and do Granger Smith dates.
Yep. So we were on the Granger Smith tour. We did probably 3 or 4 weeks, and then same thing. Got the call, go home. Went home and sat around for the first week and a half, waiting on it to go away. And then, you know, bless his heart, Tyler paid us what he could just to keep us around. And after
Yep.
that, I mean, I moved home for 3 months. I was down there in Gulf Shores, which we were partying our asses off in Gulf Shores, Orange Beach. So,
Oh yeah.
uh,
That's when I
it
officially
COVID didn't
decided we
happen
weren't
down
going to be
there.
living in Louisiana anymore. We were going to live over here full time now.
Oh yeah,
And I got a gig back working at the Builder Supply and at the Bama.
yeah,
Not long after that, because we were still rocking down here,
yeah.
business
My
as usual.
brother-in-law had a company that, I mean, I was working at, uh, what was it, Airbus.
Yeah.
I was wiping down. I was like, we were doing pre-sanitation bull crap. So I was just had a pretty much a mop bucket and a rag, and I was going through Airbus, just wiping down airplane parts and
Right.
all that kind of stuff for 3 months. But
You're like, I miss
uh,
catering.
oh yeah, yeah, that's when you really start missing it. So yeah, after the everything lifted, got back out there with Tyler. I mean, we crushed it all the way to the end of 20. All this stuff gets so foggy, Jr. End
I
of
know that's why we're
23.
doing this. We're all going to re-jog our own memories by telling these stories.
Yeah, so 2020 to 2023, the end of 23, I was with Tyler. And he was kind of going through some personnel changes at the time, new management, new booking, new,
Yep.
the whole thing.
That was right
And
about the time we did the show at the Sound down in Mississippi with you guys, I think.
yep, yep. And then we did this one right here in
Yes.
Clarksville. Yeah,
Yes. Well, that
yeah,
was the grand opening of that new venue in Clarksville. Yep.
yeah. And it was about that might have been my last show with him right there,
I think
honestly.
it was. I think I remember you saying that about that time.
Yeah. And we didn't really have any more shows on the books for the rest of the year. I was still on a day rate, all of us were. And, if you're not playing shows, you ain't getting paid. So
Right.
I kind of put out some feelers, and Jim Prisco called me. And he's like, hey, Ella's got a fall tour with Party this year. Any chance you'd be interested in that? I was like, absolutely. So I jumped on with her. We did the Party tour the end of 23, and we were in October of 23 talking about October of 24. I was like, well, this just makes sense.
Yep.
So kicked it off with Riley and Tracy at the top of 24. Um, first, I mean, the first 40 dates of the year we were with Riley and Tracy. Um, and then we did Hardy Tour. There was somebody else mixed in there too. And then I found out I was going to be a dad.
The best
So that
news you ever got.
best news I ever got. And that kind of changes your priorities a little bit. You kind of start looking for uh, immediate stability.
Yeah.
Um, I've always wanted, the whole goal of a TM is to be with somebody you love, grow it, build your own team of people that you love, and do the damn thing together. And so my priority shifted a little bit, was looking for some stability. And there was a hole in Riley's camp that they were looking to fill. And, we just did 40 dates with them. We were super tight with all of them. They had the songs coming out together, and, uh, you know, just found a real alignment with that camp. And
Yep.
so I made the move in July of 24 to Riley's camp. So I was production assistant for Riley July through the end of the year. And then him and management called me at the end of last year and said that he wanted me to be on the management team as well. We didn't know what that was going to look like. We didn't know, I didn't want to come off the road. Not an office guy.
Yeah.
I'm sure management, didn't want some road dog coming into their turf either at the time, not knowing me from, anybody else. And so we started top of this year and working as artist road manager. So I handle Riley and A Party and all of our travel and, all of his movement. So anytime he leaves the house, I'm with him now.
Gotcha. And then the TM hand is oversight on all the sub departments.
Yep. BNC parties. So
makes sense.
Yeah.
Man, so that's funny because going back to like parallel stories, and it kind of did that with Jeff and I too. That's the same kind of deal I did. I started with Wayne, same thing. I thought that was it. That was the dream. Me and Wayne, Charlie Daniels 2.0. I was on the train, and then I was working for Party. We were rocking. We were first of three on Justin's tour. This 2013. We were first of three on Justin's tour. It was John, Dustin Lynch, and Justin. It was his tour. And after about 40 dates on that tour, and we'd been rocking along for a couple years, doing good with John. I mean, I believed in John. I still do, obviously. And it worked. So obviously I do. But it was just time to make a move. I had the opportunity to go work for Justin. Like you said, it was at the time, it was just a different deal with John. I've told everybody this, so it's no secret really. At the time, like you were saying, we weren't making a lot of money. We were first of three on these, and you just don't make a lot. And then doing club dates to cover stuff. And we were doing fine, but it wasn't like we had room for extra help. And at this point, John had an album, a single on the radio, and we needed a production manager. So I talked with his manager because I was tight with them and the business manager and everybody. And we needed a production manager / tour manager that could do that more than me. I could do it some at club level, but then when we were on these big tours, he needs somebody to go out there and make sure that he sounded like the album, and we were tipping out, and that's just tough. So I got the opportunity to go work for Justin, got him a production manager to fill both roles. It worked good. Everybody's happy now. But same kind of thing, on the tour and then go work for the person you were on the tour with, because by that point I'd done buddied up with Justin's camp and was like, these guys are cool. I miss my band. But with John, it was just me and the band. It was no help. There was no nothing, and at this point I had met my now wife, and the same thing. I was looking for a little more stability and things like that, and it just all worked out. So it's funny how the parallels and little things you notice that come through there.
I was with Ella. We were doing Red Rocks with Riley and Tracy, and the day before we played the Red Rock show, I proposed to my wife. And then very shortly thereafter found out that I was going to be a dad. And and on the tour this year, I get to see all of good. It's all good, all love, all the way across the board. So
same. I still go intro John show if he's in town at the wharf or something. And I still
That's right.
we text all the time. He texted me a couple weeks ago. He was down at 30A. He said, "How far is this from your house?" I was like, "That's about 3 hours." He's like, "Dang." I was like, "Yeah, I know. It's going to be tough. Make that loop this week." He's like, "Dad's here, though, till Wednesday if you can. He'd love to see you." I was like, "I know, you know." So it's just that way. It's family affairs. Same probably you and Tyler. You go back. I mean, I'm sure his folks are as happy to see you as yours are him. You know, it'll always be that way. It's just like, you know, our parents are still our parents. We're their kids. We're just their kids' friends that we all grew up and, you know, now we do jobs instead of ball or whatever it is, you know.
Right.
So then you go to working for Duckman, who brings Ella back out on tour, and they end up having this huge song. Wait, before I go that route, I want to go back to this. So on the Tracy out with Riley.
Oh yeah.
Because we had Tracy out with us, and Tracy Lawrence is a treasure, a gem. There's not enough good things I could say about Mr. Tracy Lawrence and his whole camp, who I actually text with the legend Tommy, a.k.a. Opie McDonald, yesterday, and he has agreed to come on the show. So we'll have Tracy's tour manager on here soon. They're actually going on a 10-day run. I don't know when this podcast will drop, because before we recorded yours last week, I had Boyd Causey on.
Nice.
And it hadn't dropped yet, as we're saying. Well, as we're recording this, it hadn't dropped yet. And then John Lazard drops tomorrow, who's a homie from way back, similar story.
Oh, yeah.
But so we got to be on tour with Tracy also, as we mentioned, in 2020, and then you guys a couple years later. He's a treasure, he's a gem. Justin and I say he's got the most country swag of anybody. Oh, yeah. He's just swag. He's just smooth. And when he moves, I every time I see him walking down the hall, I just say, "Strut that ass, Tracy," because strut that ass, Tracy, because he's got that smooth demeanor, man. And he just when he grabs your hand, he tucks that head, and he does that look. I mean, just so him. David Lee Murphy's got it too.
Oh yeah.
But being on the road with a legend like Tracy, I mean, you know, obviously there's so many things you can take away from how they operate day to day, but was there anything that stood out from watching a legend act like that in comparison to working with young acts on the way up?
I mean, that's just what it is. That's a legend act. You know, you don't get to rub shoulders and be that close to those kind of people all the time. You know, and we were very fortunate that we had 40 some odd dates with him. You know, so we were super tight. Opie, bless his heart, that's as good as it gets right there. I'm
telling you,
his whole crew, Sean Prevey, you know, just all the band guys, Joe and Derek and all of them,
Junior,
man, they're just the best people.
I know, right?
I laughed more on that tour than I think I ever have. You know, they always keep you laughing. And then they get up there and play the hits, you know, and it's just, that's what it's all about.
And watching Tracy Lawrence work every night was literally, and obviously I didn't get to do it as many as I wanted to. And that's why I'm pissed at COVID as much as anything, as it cut me out of that run of me watching Tracy every night. Because the few nights we did do the tour, Justin and I make a fresh drink, and we are cutting people, you know, we're snipping that meet and greet line quick or whatever we're trying to, wrapping up that radio room. I'm like, Tracy's on.
Back out there.
I'm like, Tracy's on in 3 minutes. Let's go. And we're at front of house, hats off, watching Tracy like we're 14 again every night, you know, because he's so good. And them boys still like to party. And, and we were rocking and rolling too. And I know Duckman and his camp, you boys are probably partied. Y'all all young. Most everybody's single over there and everything else. I'm sure y'all are rocking and rolling.
I don't know. A lot of them are married up now. So
are they?
It's a great place to be. I'll tell you.
It helps. It helps when everybody else is on the same train. I can tell you that.
I've never felt more at home than I do with this camp. I mean, Riley's just as good as it gets. The most loyal person. Once he, you know, believes in you and you prove yourself, just the best in the world to you, you know?
Yeah.
I'm sure Justin's the same way. I've seen with you.
100%. And Riley's that way. I mean, Riley and I have been friends since Jump Street. You know, I can remember Brady Thrower calling me saying, "Hey, I got a buddy you need to come meet." And I got pictures of Riley at Justin's meet and greet line when he was still doing construction work, you know. But I wanted to wear it today, and I brought this one. And I can't find my other one, but I've got one of my old school Duckman shirts here. And
Yes, sir.
I've got the Bury Me in Dixie shirt because and I've got a picture of us at a big outdoor show in Dothan back in the day of me and Justin both with the Bury Me in Dixie shirts that Brady gave me because they came and I introduced them. We brought them on the bus,
Uh-huh.
first time I've ever been on a bus, all that fun stuff, and been pulling for him since day one. And Ella, I mean that's two, and I've said it on the podcast before. I called Nashville and said I got these two different people. And
Yeah.
cricket's back. And then a couple years later,
Right.
it's like, hey, isn't this your friend? They just signed to the record label. I'm like, yeah, I told you about him 4 years ago, you know?
Yeah.
So Duckman has always just been super cool to me too. Same thing. He goes out of his way if we're somewhere to make sure we connect. And, friends with his parents now, the whole deal, just good as gold. Love them all. And don't know Ella that well. Only really got to be around her those couple times at the floor of Bama early on, but I loved her swag and her demeanor. And, we were super, it was her and Joy Beth and Job and Trey Lewis
Trey.
was there. And they were all coming down because I think Davis Nix was helping facilitate a lot of that
For
during
sure.
that time. And, but they were super cool. And I was like, and I knew it had a shot, and I'm so glad it did. But I'd love to reconnect, and then it works out. I see Riley at some of these events we do, and we text from time to time. But it's the same reason why I really don't miss living in Nashville. If you're not on the same tour, you're never going to be at home at the same
That's
time
it.
as your other friends that work in the business. You're just never going to be at home.
Right.
It just
Yeah.
doesn't work
I was
out.
listening to that Jeff episode, and he's going to be down there for the Santa Ma Boots Festival. So are we. But I heard you're not going to be there, which, whatever. I'll connect with Jeff. Me and Jeff will pour
There
one
you
out for the
go.
homie. So
As you should. Yes, y'all make sure to get some pictures. Y'all can do a little what's the little cutout thing they used to do? The kids make you take we'll do one of those, a little cutout snowman. Y'all can take a picture with
yeah.
me. But yeah, and that's the only way to do it is work for an artist that you find that you can trust and you love and you believe in what they're doing. I wouldn't do it. I've said that for years. There's only a handful that I think I would even attempt to work for, unless the money was just astronomical.
Right.
Just because I've got my reputation as well, and I've said
For
that
sure.
the artist or the spotlight, but that's another reason we're doing this podcast to shed light on all the people that make the whole thing happen, because it's more than just one or two people. And we all have our convictions and values and belief systems and don't always agree with certain things and stand for or die on a hill for others, as Bloodline would say.
Absolutely.
So it's good when you link up with the right ones, you're doing it for the right reasons. If not, it could be miserable. And I would never want to be in that situation.
For sure.
Well,
sure.
I know,
He's home.
Go ahead, buddy.
I was
Sorry.
just going to say he's a hometown Alabama boy. I feel like our values are very much aligned, and I tell him and the team all the time, there's no place I'd rather be. I am happy as can be staying right here forever. So
Absolutely. And so everybody, is always sweating Duckman about his dating situation. How old does that get? And will you tell us who he's dating right now? Exclusive right now.
That's none of my business. I get him from A to B,
That's right.
That's where I'm at. So personal life stays personal, and I'm glad to be here.
I get it. Hey, and isn't that something though, how much heat they put on him about that whole situation just constantly. I mean, he looks like $1 million. I get he's a big star. I get it. But also, I bet for him, he's like, all right, guys, can we move on to something else? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I tell him all the time, I said, no articles like that are getting written about me.
Yeah.
I ain't as
No.
pretty as you, so
No,
I ain't got to worry about it.
No.
Yeah.
Most. And he does it with such swag. I knew that's another reason I prompted everybody to man, y'all should give this guy a shot. He's already done some television. He knows he's swagged out. He's a very respectful young man. He's a good looking guy. He knows what he's doing. He's a normal dude though. And he's kept true to himself since day one. And I couldn't be
100%.
happier for the success that he's had so far and all that's to come, because going back to reading off that ACM list, he's on there, and I can just foresee me getting a vote for Duckman for years and years to come. And I said on the podcast that I wasn't going to say who I voted for, but y'all know who I voted for. I vote hometown every time. Whoever I'm closest with, that's who I'm getting.
Yep.
Unless it comes down to a musical thing, I will vote music over friendship if it's just such a gap if I can't do it personally for whatever reason. But any other time, you can bet everybody from Alabama was who I was voting for. And if it come down to two Bama people, probably just figure out which one I'm closest with, and or like who you think's music I'd like the best, and that's probably it.
We probably have very similar ballots then.
I'm sure. It's been great. I've got to vote for Bloodline the last couple years in the Strays. It's just great, man. It's just so good. And it's just, but also in the same as you could say too. We won't dive in any of that, but it's funny who they put on there when you really know, when you're out there on the road and you know what everybody's doing. You know what numbers and what perception and what's going on really, and then you see that stuff and you're like, really? Okay. All right. Well, I mean, good on them for getting there, but it's like, does that really make sense?
Just put the blinders back on and just keep working, man.
That's all you can do. Because I'm thinking, I saw them a couple weeks ago, and then I saw this other one that's not on here, and they did about twice the numbers in the same place, and I could feel the heat from the crowd. You know, it's like I remember when Luke Combs was making his ascend a few years ago. I went and saw him at the Wharf, and after that night, I got it. I knew that what I said. Oh, they ain't no slowing this rocket ship down. Them people out there going nuts. It stormed on them for 15 minutes, and they didn't flinch. They are hooked, buddy. He's got them, and you know that's another one. Jerry Sloan. Hope to have him on soon, and
for sure.
Ethan. Oh, great bunch there. But I want to have you back on, and that's another reason I'm trying to get all of a lot of my close people I'm closest with on the road on early, because I want to do repeat episodes. We'll have updates. Cool. When people call the voicemail line or send in questions and comments, we can come back on and talk about that or dive deeper into some stuff. Or sometimes we could do a panel. I'd love to have like a couple of Bama folks on here all together. You know, or have an artist you've worked with before, and we could swap some stories about that, or you know, all that kind of stuff.
For sure.
But I've got a few things I want to do that I do with every guest before we get out of here today. It's a little list of a few different kind of little question and little gamey type things I do. First off, what's your birthday?
March 21st.
3/21. What year?
95.
95. All right. Second one I got is, and I'll get back to this one. What is the biggest name in your phone book? What do you think name has the biggest reach? If it's not to the public, just the biggest number to you, who are you most excited to have their number in your phone, or who do you think's the biggest number in your phone?
That's a tough question.
And it doesn't have to be an artist. It could be a politician, an athlete, just you're somebody you're just random that you're like, I can't believe I got this person's number.
Ryan Klesko.
Klesko.
Oh yeah.
Now growing up as a little Bravo, you never thought you'd have Klesko's number in your phone.
No sir. No sir.
Yeah, I love it when that happens. I love it when that happens. All right. So, this is great. We do this every episode. It's birthday number one. This is the number one song in country music on the day that you were born.
Oh, shoot.
So, on March 31st of 1995, the number one, your parents are so happy. Oh, there's
21st?
31st, right?
21st.
21st. Oh, let me go back. What
was the 31st? Let me ask you that.
Oh, wow. This Woman, This Man by Clay Walker.
Nice.
Yes, that's what I was like. Oh, what a tie-in, because we just had Boyd on last week, and he told the Clay Walker "Drive Me Smooth" from his perspective story, because he was the tour manager during that incident.
Oh my goodness!
Which is the name, which we should get zero heat from it, because it is actually the name of Clay's tour this year, is the "Drive Me Smooth" tour. That guy.
That's hilarious.
That guy's something
else.
That's
doubling down right there.
Yes. Wait a minute. Why does it keep doing this? Hold on, buddy. Sorry, this is something's glitching up here. March 21. Or did I have it in there right the first time? Watch me mess up my own game here. Well, I messed the game up today, but I'll do my spiel anyway. So your parents are just leaving the hospital. They're so happy. There's Chase and is swaddled up in his little blanket. He's so cute. Oh, he's got his little hat on backwards and his little Sharpie ready to go take care of some business in his little baby world. They get in there. They get in their Ford Ranger, and they put you in the little jump seat in behind there, all snuggled in, so you wouldn't go and tell the dog to quit licking you. And as they crank up and start going down the road, going back to beautiful Satsuma, Alabama, in the early springtime, end of winter. They turn on the radio, and there is none other than Mr. Clay Walker singing, this woman, this man.
How about it?
How about that? Of
That's
all
awesome.
I usually let everybody guess. Would that have been something you would have guessed? Would you have guessed that era?
No, I wouldn't even know where to guess. I'd have had no idea.
95. What a great, that was, they were rocking 90s country right then, buddy. It was happening.
What were you doing in 95?
95, I got my first car. I was turning 16. That would have been, sophomore year of high school.
Love it.
Yeah.
What'd you drive?
No good. That was about
First
the
car,
time.
what was it?
Chevrolet Beretta with a spoiler kit, 212s in the trunk, Alpine head unit, wire rims, 88 spoke Dayton wire wheels, the whole deal. The boom in the trunk, couple of neon lights, I'm sure, at some point.
That's awesome.
Had to have something real low to the ground with a spoiler kit to live in rural Alabama, so you can make sure you hang it on everything and feel yourself bottoming out over every pothole you go over. Had I known what I know now, I would have totally just got a damn truck, which I did when I finally got to college. But that was about. I had probably just heard Hank Jr. and somebody handed me a bottle of Brown in a brown paper bag for the first time not long before that, and I was just about starting to get after it about that point. Unfortunately, that was the ascend to honky tonk rock and roll infamy about that era. But good times nonetheless. And I probably heard that because I switched around a lot of music. You can imagine I was big into hip hop during that time, rock and roll, and country. Everything was big at that point. It was a good time in music. Everything was. There was a lot of different stuff out there at that point.
For sure.
So I don't know if I would have been listening to that Clay record right then, but I'm sure I was going through Montgomery, hitting the dial. I'm sure it'd come on, and I listened to it for a minute.
What was that? The Possum?
That would have been Bam 90.
The older.
Yeah, that's the one now. But back then it would have been Bam 90 or 98. 98. What was Bam 98? Was the country channel, I think, and then there was golly. I listened to 95 or 95.1 The Fox was the classic rock channel. That's what we listened to up the lake. A lot of classic rock growing up where I grew up. It was a lot of classic rock, Southern rock. Because 95.1 The Fox, they sponsored all the things. I grew up on Lake Martin. I'm from Eclectic, Alabama. So a lot of stuff revolving around the lake, and 4th of July, the rock and roll channel would come up, and the bikini contest and all the inappropriate things we did in the 90s. And then Hot 105.7 was the jam though, because that was the hip hop R&B soul channel, and it had gold, and after midnight, that was good stuff.
That was it.
I got to make sure I put this down. This woman. Yeah, last week, Boyd's was he's from '96. His was a Patty Loveless tune.
He's younger than me.
Yeah. Boyd's a baby.
What?
I know, right? Don't let the beard
and
age. That's what gambling and living wild will do for you, buddy. You live in.
I'm right there in the thick of it too, but I don't know. Boyd's got me beat.
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. Well, you didn't do a Clay Walker tour. There you go.
No,
that'll put a couple years on you right there. That'll do it. And then John Lazard, he's I didn't have his birthday written down here. Oh yeah, he's an '88 model, and his was "If You Ain't Loving, You Ain't Living" by George Strait.
Man,
I can't remember which one mine is. I have to look that up. I did know it off the top of my head, but I can't think of it now. What was mine? All right, I got another one for you though. While I'm looking that up. What is your Mount Rushmore of music? Doesn't necessarily have to be country, but just whatever music you're into. If you had to put 4 people on the pedestal of your musical, what you like as far as music, who would you put on there?
No, being from where we're from, Hank Jr.
Of course.
George Strait. As far as the other two, uh, also being from where we're from and the years I grew up on it, I'd have to say Kenny Chesney. Man, that last one. Probably have to go back to Haggard.
The Hag. And Hag over Waylon and Willie and Merle. I mean, Waylon and Willie.
I think so.
Just personal, you just like the Hag stuff
Yeah,
better. Yeah, I
yeah.
kind of went through
I can get
eras
down
where I
on
like,
some Hag. You
oh
turn some
man,
on Hag and it's over with.
it's so good. When I was living in a buddy of mine's floor in Tuscaloosa, I would swear I didn't. When the Wayne Mills days, I would stay on my buddy Chimpy's couch or floor most times when I stayed in Tuscaloosa. And it'd be an off day, and nobody was playing, and I didn't want to
Yeah,
go out and didn't want to party. And he'd be like, "All right, let's go out, go to the booth, let's go to the strip." I'm like, "I ain't going nowhere tonight." And he would start getting dressed, and I'd say I wasn't, and I'd order wings or whatever, and watch cartoons, play original Halo on original Xbox,
yeah.
and he would go in there and put on a Merle Haggard DVD we had, and he'd go, "Could be holding you tonight." And by the end of
And it
that
was over.
song,
You had your pants on, boots on.
yep, I'm in the bathroom brushing my teeth, getting changed. Just yeah, let's go. And then
I love it.
3 o'clock the next afternoon, I'm like, why did I do that?
For sure. For sure.
So we got Bo Cephas, Straight, Chesney, and Hag. That's a hell of a Mount Rushmore. That'd be a good
Yeah.
party.
Yeah, it'd have to be dude. I'm still just being from the coast, I would have to say Kenny. But touring wise, getting to know these guys, Brooks and Dunn,
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
I'll do that honorable mention there.
B&D. How good? Yeah, I mean, just legends. And how? I wonder. I hadn't seen anything. I wonder how Ronnie is. I know they had said he had
I
left the
don't know.
stage
I
a
haven't
week or
seen
so
anything.
ago, and I wonder if that was just. I don't. I wonder if that was even something wrong, or that was just part of the show, because I hadn't heard anything else. Hopefully nothing.
I haven't heard anything.
Um, I had some voicemails on here, and it was funny. The first voicemail I had when I put the 424 handler line out was from Jake Worthington, and that was pretty good. And I've gotten a couple from
Come
some
on.
other. Yeah, it was hilarious. I've gotten some from my brother Nathan Howard, who I'll have on here at some point,
Yeah.
who's my assistant tour manager and also assistant tour manager for Hank Jr.
Yes,
Got
sir.
one from my buddy Bones Jones back home. My buddy Marty Party, Chad Martin, and my buddy Dude Man, Davey Olbrich, songwriter extraordinaire and former roommate of mine, I'm going to have on here at some point. So thanks, everybody, for leaving those and the text and all the comments, and keep them coming. But, man, well, thanks for coming on today, Chase. I hope
Dude, thank you for having me, man.
yeah, I hope I didn't waste too much of your time. And like I
Not
said,
at
I
all.
want to have you back
Never.
on at some point and tell some more of these stories. So what's the rest of the year look like now? Y'all are knee deep on a tour, or y'all on break?
We are knee deep in a tour. Started it 2 weeks ago in Canada. Hell of a place to start a tour. Um, but awesome reaction, awesome crowds every night, just unbelievable. So we're in the thick of it. Got a good fair and festival run this summer. Coming back in the fall with a few plans, and yeah, man, just knocking it out.
Love it. Who's on the tour right now?
Man, we are all over the place. So first week or the first 2 weeks, we're doing the interchangeable first to four, second to four slots.
Yeah.
So the first 2 weeks we had Eric Dillon, Jake Worthington, Ella, and Duckman.
Love it. Jake and Eric Dillon, if anybody don't know, is a big writer with Riley's. Wrote a lot of Riley's hits, and a homie of mine. I'd love to have Eric on at some point. He'd be
Yes,
a good
sir.
one. Great
I
writer.
think the next tour dates we have, Channing Wilson, Drake White, Ella, RG.
I love it. All Bama. I mean, look, Riley
Yes,
keeping it
sir.
home. That's the goal. Take care of the home
is.
folks.
Yes, sir.
Well, man, tell all those folks I said hello. Please
I
do.
will.
Please tell them you
I will.
talked to me and that I said hello, and I hope to see them all soon. And I hope I get to come to one of these tour package shows while y'all are on
Come
the
on
road
with
this
it.
year. I know. Well, tell everybody how they can find you on social media if they want to reach out and say hello.
I am Chase Butler on everything. And then if you want to email me too, it's IamChaseButler@gmail.com.
There you go. There you go. If you got any questions or comments or just want to say you enjoyed Chase on the show, hit him up. Hit me up at JRTheHandler. You can go to jrthehandler.com for all links to everything. This should come out here real soon, so I'll make sure to send you the links and all that fun stuff, buddy. But
Sounds good, man.
Thanks again for coming on, giving us the origin story. And now that everybody's had a chance to get to know you a little bit, when you come back on in a couple of months, we'll dive deeper into some of this stuff.
Come on with it.
I love
Good
it.
to see
All
you,
right,
brother.
well, you too, man. Well, if there's any crazy stuff goes on the road, make sure to document it and remember the story so we can tell it on here soon.
Will do, my man.
All right, brother. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks, Chase.
Thanks, JR.
Well, I hope everybody enjoyed that. That was my buddy Chase Butler, currently out on tour with Riley Green. I hope everybody enjoyed that as much as I did. It was good to catch up with Chase and tell some stories. And we'll have more to come. And just his origin story, I think, is just neat, going an unorthodox route to get where you need to go, as usual. Well, there'll be next episode, not sure exactly who we're going to have on yet, so stay tuned for that. Go to jrthehandler.com for links to everything. Hoping to have some new stuff up on the page soon. The links to all this on Apple and Spotify and YouTube and all that will be easy to find. Use @JRTheHandler to send me anything on Instagram or Twitter. You can find the links for that also on jrthehandler.com. Thanks to all the sponsors that help the show going and keep the show growing. We're going to continue to keep that a priority so we can keep growing this show and hopefully have more episodes out in the future on top of what we're putting out now. I had some stuff I wanted to go over that I had gotten through some emails and some Instagram messages, and I'm having a hard time pulling up where I wrote all that down. And pardon me on that. But I know one of them was to start putting the Charlie Daniels Let's All Make the Day Count readings at the end of the show. So at the end of this episode, I'll leave one, and going forward, I will have a reading from one of my favorite books when I need just an everyday pick me up or just to add, just something to help your day go through. And even if you don't need the help, it's just a good reminder for yourself, I guess. And the book is Charlie Daniels, Let's All Make the Day Count, the Everyday Wisdom of Charlie Daniels. So I'll read one of those at the end of every episode on the way out. Thank you again for tuning in this week, and we'll see y'all real soon here on the JR The Handler Show. For any of you first-time listeners out there, at the end of each of our episodes, I like to do a little reading out of a book I've had that I've got a lot of use out of over the years. The book is by Mr. Charlie Daniels, and the book is called Let's All Make the Day Count, the Everyday Wisdom of Charlie Daniels. Number 84, Limited Supply. Lord, remind me how brief my time on earth will be. Remind me that my days are numbered, how fleeting my life is. Psalms 39:4. No matter how healthy, no matter how successful, no matter how confident, young, or wise a person may be, there is no way of telling how long he or she will live. The Bible says that our days are numbered. We are each allotted a certain amount of time, and when it's gone, so are we. Time is one thing that can't be fabricated or stretched and is more precious than any earthly possession we could ever have. I consider things like arguing over trivial matters, dissension, revenge, jealousy, and allowing anxiety to rule our days to be a waste of precious time. Not that I always live up to the letter of my convictions, but I strive to. Our efficient use of time can't only be evaluated by hours we devote to our work or to our noble pursuits of charity and kindness, because resting the mind and body is essential. The importance of spending time with family and friends cannot be overestimated and will never be regretted. Time never takes a vacation. It's ours to use wisely or waste. It never slows down, and once it goes, it is only relived in memories. Every day is a gift to God, a 24-hour unit of time for us to use as we see fit that will soon go its way, never to return again. Make good use of it. Let's all make the day count.